It's time for a Wellness Revolution. Brought to you by Hotze Health and Wellness Center. Honest discussion on maintaining health and wellness naturally to enjoy a better quality of life.
He's the doctor fighting to let you keep your doctorate.
Now, Dr. Stephen Hotze.
Welcome to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. I'm Stacey Banfield here with Dr. Stephen Hotze, who is the founder of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. So glad you joined us today. As we always like to say, everybody needs a health coach. Got some good topics on tap to listen to today. A couple of things that people are very concerned about. One is cholesterol and one is heart disease. These go on. They're rampant in our culture. It's a real problem. People try all different ways, but you can't go wrong with the natural way. Isn't that right, Dr. Hotze?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Stacey, for your kind introduction, as always.
You're welcome.
Wanted to visit with you about heart disease, the causes of heart disease, and its relationship to cholesterol. Now, heart disease is rated the number one killer of all Americans. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 700,000 people die annually of some form of heart disease. And that includes not only heart attacks, but congestive heart failure, vascular disorders, and strokes all fall under the whole term cardiovascular disease. And somewhere in the neighborhood of about 700,000 people, half men, half women, die of heart disease. It's rated as the leading cause of death in America. It's probably not the leading cause of death. There's an article that was written in Life Extension magazine by Dr. Gary Null and Dr. Carol Dean entitled Death by Medicine, in which they document the fact that there are literally millions of Americans that die annually from the adverse effect of drugs. Now, I've said this on many occasions that drugs are all poisons. My dad told me that when I graduated from med school. He turned to me and said, "Son, don't poison your patients like all the other doctors do." And in fact, he was right. Drugs are poisons. They're toxins, and they have to be detoxified by the liver. So you can't poison yourself. And toxin, by the way, is a poison. That's the definition. So you can't poison yourself to good health. And all drugs are poisons. They have a lethal dose 50, an LD 50. That is the dose given an animal, whether it's humans or rats in a cage, the dose that you can give that will cause 50% of the animals to die at that dose. That's the lethal dose 50, LD 50. And the effective dose 50 is the dose that you have to give to solve a disease or cure a problem, or at least arrest a problem, and that's called the effective dose. So when you divide the lethal dose by the effective dose, that gives you a ratio, and the smaller that ratio is, the more dangerous the drug is. So every drug, let's just make sure I've established the fact that every drug, pharmaceutical drug you take, is toxic. It's a toxin, and so that has harmful effects on your body. Well, if drugs are harmful, then let's talk about cholesterol, which is natural. Now, if we ask the average person on the street, in fact, the average doctor, what's the cause of heart disease? What are they going to say?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol
It's
causes
too high.
heart disease, which is totally wrong. I've just finished reading a book called The Cholesterol Myth. I've read books, The Cholesterol Hoax, The Hoax of Cholesterol, The Myth About Cholesterol, all the books. I've read all the various arguments that have dispelled the notion that cholesterol is the cause of heart disease. That's bogus and it's wrong. It's not. Cholesterol is a molecule made by every cell in your body makes it. Primarily the liver produces cholesterol, and cholesterol is important for the production of all your sex and adrenal hormones. The term cholesterol has the ending term sterol. That's where we derive the word steroid hormones. Your sex hormones and adrenal hormones are all natural occurring steroid hormones. They're hormones made from cholesterol. So it's the building block of your hormones. Every cell in your body has a lipid ring, a fat ring around it, and that ring is made of cholesterol. Your brain has a total body weight of about 2%. 2% of the body's weight is in the brain. In the wet brain, 25% of the brain's weight is cholesterol. In dried brain, it's 50%. So cholesterol is very important in the functioning of our brain. As a matter of fact, it is important and essential for the utilization of your neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and other neurotransmitters in the brain that enable you to think. It's important for the production of bile. The bile in the gallbladder, which helps you dissolve fats that you eat, is made from cholesterol. Vitamin D, which is not really a vitamin at all, it's a hormone because it's made from cholesterol, the building block of hormones. It's important for new bone formation, so it helps prevent osteoporosis. It's important for and essential for good health in the immune system and good heart health. It's a critical vitamin that your body can't produce without cholesterol. So if you took a drug like a statin drug, which are very popular now and promoted everywhere as the cure of heart disease, which, by the way, all the studies, and there have been scores and scores of studies, and there's many studies that indicate that the taking of statin drugs does not decrease your overall mortality rate. Forget about heart disease, whether you die of a heart attack. In many of the studies, the statin drugs increase your overall death rate over not taking a statin drug. Well, it may decrease by 1 or 2% in certain individuals, the risk of heart disease, 1 or 2%, but it increases the overall risk of dying.
And Dr. Hotze, isn't that because it just removes too much of the cholesterol, the statin drugs that you need for life? They do two things. It does two things. One, it stops the production of cholesterol in the liver and anywhere in the body. It blocks an enzyme. And all these drugs, this drug particularly, the statin drugs, poison the enzyme in the liver and in the cells. A reductase enzyme is called HMG coenzyme A reductase. And that particular enzyme is important for the production of cholesterol. So it blocks the production of cholesterol. And by the way, when that happens, we get a host of health problems. We get poor production of your adrenal hormones, which are important. Those are your stress hormones. Your sex hormones go down. People have sexual dysfunction when they get on these drugs. It causes cognitive disability, significant cognitive disability. They've done studies of this, that people that take statin drugs on cognitive testing, that's testing to see how people think, go down whenever they take statin drugs. As a matter of fact, thousands of individuals, when they take the statin drugs, get amnesia. They get global amnesia from these drugs, and oftentimes the doctors are completely unaware that that's what's caused the problem, and they'll put them on a bunch of antidepressants or other antipsychotic drugs, and they've ruined the person's life. Dr. Dwayne Gravelin wrote a book about this, Gravelin, Graveline, and he had this problem with acute global amnesia after he got on these drugs. And thank goodness the doctor had enough sense to take him off the drugs, and he got well, he got his brain back. Now, Dr. Gravelin worked with the astronaut program at NASA. So he began to study this and saw how the pharmaceutical companies had really been promoting cholesterol as the bogeyman of all heart disease and the cause of heart disease. Well, the treatment of cholesterol causes a host of health problems. It impairs the membranes around the cells. It decreases the normal production of adrenal and sex hormones. It affects brain function adversely, so you don't get proper utilization of your neurotransmitters. It affects bile production, and it also affects the production of vitamin D. So cholesterol is one of the most important molecules the body makes, and you're going to poison it? Really? That's what we're going to do? Okay. Besides that, the statin drugs poison that same enzyme that makes cholesterol, the HMG coenzyme A reductase enzyme. It also makes that enzyme is important for the production of coenzyme Q10, ubiquinol. Now, coenzyme Q10 is an essential molecule. It's really a spark plug of the cell, very similar in the sense like the thyroid is a spark plug of the cell that helps the cell produce energy. Well, so does coenzyme Q10. And its primary locations, although it affects every cell in the body, are in the heart, because the heart has thousands of power plants within each cell, the liver, and the brain. So if you don't, coenzyme Q10 is important for the transfer of electrons
from the various nutrients that you eat and from oxygen, it transports these electrons into the power plants in the cells, which are called the mitochondria, that produce energy, that make the currency of the energy currency of the cell called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. The coenzyme Q10 is critical for the transport of that electron into the mitochondria to enable that electron to get hooked to ATP so it can go out and then drive all the biochemical processes in the body. Remember, we're a bundle of electrons, and you've got to have good energy production to be healthy. If you have low energy production, you're not going to be healthy. So it poisons coenzyme Q10. Now, which is going to poison the heart. So I'm going to give a statin drug, which is going to poison cholesterol, which is a very important molecule for normal health of the body, and it's going to poison my ability to make coenzyme Q10, which is important for energy production in the heart. So they put these patients with heart failure, they put them on statin drugs. Well, what do you think that's going to do to the heart? It's going to decrease the ability of the heart to produce energy, and it's going to lead to the earlier and quicker demise. So stay away from statin drugs is my advice. I would advise any guest of ours, and I do every guest, get off.
And you can go cold turkey, too.
Yeah, you can get off of them right away.
Don't need to wean off of them.
The studies that have been done show, despite what the drug company, remember, all the studies that are done on statin drugs are done by who? Not by the FDA. They're done by drug companies. And they don't have to turn in the studies that show bad effects. They only have to show 2 studies that show that it works better than a placebo, even if it's insignificantly better. So that's what the drug companies do, and they will go and create. They've been known to manufacture studies, and then they get high-named professionals in medical schools to sign off who had nothing to do with the study, and they pay them to do that. This has been documented. The drug companies are highly, in the way they manage these studies, unethical in their presentations. They're doing one thing. They're going to put that study in the best light so it can sell their drug to you and convince you that if I just take a statin drug, I won't get heart disease. Well, that's what I have to say about cholesterol and coenzyme Q10 and how they're both adversely affected by the statin drugs. Statin drugs are dangerous. They're poisons. They poison your ability to make natural occurring cholesterol, which your body needs, as well as coenzyme Q10, which your body needs for energy production. And when you take these statin drugs, the common complaints that people have is they have loss of energy, inability to focus and think clearly. They get muscle spasms, they get muscle aches, they get joint muscle pains. They feel terrible on these drugs, and they can't think as well. And so I just saw a guest this morning that I had taken off his statin drug, and he came back in and goes, I'm thinking so much better, Doc. What do you think? It's only been a month. I just think better and feel better. Well, I got him off the statin. Now, there are other drugs I have to get him off, and I'm weaning him off those. But the statin drugs can cause a host of problems, and you need to make yourself aware of that. You need to find a physician, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to talk on our next podcast about heart disease, what the underlying cause of heart disease is, and what you can do to prevent it and reverse it and prevent it from occurring.
So the big takeaway, statins, bad for you. I think that's safe to say. If there's one takeaway, just know that that is something very simple that you can do right now to improve your health. And if you would like to know more about how we can help you get healthy and well, you can give us a call at 281-698-8698. That's 281-698-8698. Thank you for tuning in here to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution.
Information information provided on this radio program is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice and is not intended to replace the services of a physician, nor does it constitute a doctor-patient relationship. You should not use information from this radio program to diagnose or treat a health problem or disease without consulting with a qualified healthcare provider. If you have or suspect you have an urgent medical problem, promptly contact a professional healthcare provider or call 911. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution radio program advises you to always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new treatment or with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Any application of the recommendations from this radio program is at the listener's discretion.